Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Helsinki and 5G Hack Them All summer course. Today we are going to discuss about the impacts or effects of Corona situation for our economy in Finland and globally. And we discuss here at the studio with Matti Mannonen from Finland technology industries. Welcome, Matti, to the show.
Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's really great that you have been organizing this 5G summer school, and that you've made it such an international or even a global course. And you can say, like we chatted it just before that you can say good morning, or you can say good afternoon, or good night in this show, because it's global and people are watching it from all over the place.
So we are happy to have the 5G technology as our topic. So that's the global issue in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And everybody likes to have that very early on. But tell more about your background and about the technology industry Finland.
Yeah, I'm working in TIF, technology industry, so Finland as in charge of the innovation and economic policy as well as the EU policy. I've been there 8 years. My background is in consulting engineering. I've been running a couple of Finnish and international consulting companies before taking this post, and also I've been working and running a global export company. Actually, it was a joint venture between private and public sector actors, and we did consulting all around the world, starting from the 80s actually, and throughout the 90s.
So you have long experience about the crises as well.
Yes, I've seen the three big crises that Finland has been facing since the first one was in the beginning of 90s. The second one was the financial crisis in 2008, and the final one we are experiencing right now. It's this corona crisis and pandemic that is causing a lot of trouble to our companies as well.
So let's come back to those crises and the solutions. About the technology industry Finland. So what is your role in Finland?
Well, we are the biggest industry sector in Finland, and our share of the whole Finnish exports is more than 50%. So both from the goods exports and from the services exports. So that is actually describing quite well that you are not selling any more just machines or goods, but you are selling the service and the maintenance and even the as a service features of the products, and quite a lot of digital technologies are embedded in the machinery and the systems that we are selling and producing here. So that is why this kind of mobility and the digital technologies that we are discussing also in this course, they are really crucial to our industries and for the development and the future competitiveness of our industries.
So the export is very important for Finland. So how important it is?
Well, it is. We are a small country, and the Finnish markets are very small. So our well-being is totally dependent on our ability to sell our goods and services to the world, and so we are an export country, yeah. And actually the technology industries, they do about 28% of Finnish GDP, and also employ directly or indirectly every fourth employee in Finland. So quite important.
So which are the most important export sectors of Finland?
Well, we have of course, the big export sectors. Generally, manufacturing industry. We have a lot of machinery. We have a lot of machines that are moving work machines. We have, of course, the shipyards. We have energy plants. We have digital industries. ICT sector is exporting more and more. We have, for example, cargo lifting equipment. We have 2 of the 3 biggest cargo lifting manufacturers in Finland. We have a lot of equipment related to building sector. We have, for example, Kone Corporation is one of the leading elevator manufacturers and escalator manufacturers in the world. Of course, we have the whole electronics and electricity industry that has been built up well a long time ago, but also like the Nokia cluster that became really important in the 90s is a big part of that, and of course it has spinned off a lot of companies in that sector, both in the software side and in the manufacturing side.
Sounds like 5G is very important technology for Finland.
Absolutely, it is crucial, and of course 5G is enabler in all our factories and plants, so that it's not just that it's 5G for the networks, but it's 5G for the companies, so that they can change their business models and they can change their operation models and utilize this, and that's why having such a big number of people in this course is very good, and I hope you have integrated the companies into this course and into the learning, and that is great. We have also put one challenge to the student teams there, and we are carrying out a study about advanced manufacturing and what is the state of the art in the world in advanced manufacturing, and how the Finnish companies could benefit from 5G and other technologies in development. In the pretty tough competition that we have around the world.
Yeah, so there are at least, I guess, 3 teams working for that challenge.
That's great.
That course.
Really.
So
yeah,
the 3 international groups. So let's see what we get, and let's come back to that too this week.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so you mentioned that we have providers of 5G technology. We have dynamic operators utilizing it. Just it was yesterday when we heard about the new new auction we had for the like frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
For the high frequencies already. So, and there are 3 operators now having the higher band frequencies as well in the offering.
Yeah.
And then we have number of these industries utilizing the 5G. So.
Yeah, and actually I think that it is wise to have some of the frequencies available for the industries directly, because they can build up their own internal operational networks, so that and you don't have to. It's easier also when you can do it in your own network, and you don't have to worry that much about hackers and cyber crime and these kind of things. And it's easier to keep the cybersecurity also. Yeah.
So for those international and domestic students, so there seems to be learning opportunities around the 5G and even employment opportunities around it.
Absolutely, yeah. And once this Corona pandemic is over, we will be short of qualified people again, because and there will be a high demand for people who are proficient in 5G technologies, I'm sure.
Yes, but let's come to that situation of Corona at the moment. So the Corona pandemic has had impact globally. So what is the impact in Finland or the effects of?
Yeah, I actually put up some notes here because we are opening up the society in Finland at the moment, and it looks like this that we are getting over it already. But unfortunately, if you look at technology industries, it's not over yet. It's actually we're in the middle of the crisis, and we are still seeing worse development coming. Our industries typically they have order books which are pretty long. They can be like even in the at most cases they can be several years, but anyways they are several months, and our companies have been. Many of our companies have been able to continue operations almost in a normal way. We have a statistics. We are asking our companies actually every week or every second week how is it going, and at the moment we have about 35% of companies where the situation is bad or very bad at the moment. But after 3 months we are going to have 55% of our member companies who are in that situation. And actually if you look at how it has evolved, the first impact actually was that we had these broken supply chains from Asia, because that was the place where that was first hit, and they were closing their economies quite. And some of our companies just did not get any critical parts and components any longer, so they had to close down here, even if there was no Corona crisis in Finland at that point. And then it's difficult to change also these suppliers of critical components, because if you have to do the accreditation of the new supplier, it can take a year if you do it with an official source, and so it's not easy. To some components, of course, it's easier, but largely that's a problem. Well, the second impact was the travel restrictions, because we have a lot of maintenance work, operations work, checking, repair, commissioning of new plants, this kind of work that you have to go there. And when the travel restrictions came on, then it was more difficult to go anywhere. Actually, there was a total lockdown for a while. The third impact was actually the first actual Corona impact. It was like the quarantine actions and isolations that you had to be prepared for. And when the problem is that when somebody in the company gets an infection, then everybody around him or her is insulated or isolated, and you in a quarantine for 2 weeks. So our companies started to make like identical double teams that had no connection with each other. They had a white team and a blue team doing the same thing, so that you could continue the operations even if somebody would be infected in one of the teams. And also like all those white collar people, they moved to remote work in a second. I mean, that happened really fast. And then of course those people they were in safe places, but of course when you are on the factory floor you can't work remote, you have to be there, and that's where you had these double teams system, for example. And of course, if you have like several production facilities, then it is in various in many countries that eases it a little bit, because then you can rely on production somewhere even if you have trouble somewhere else, and that's like improving your resilience as well. Well, but after that, the fourth impact that was that there were no new orders anymore. Nobody was asking for bids, and that has continued quite a lot. So that we are still in a situation where the new bids, new orders are really few, and there's a stagnation in that sense. And like I said, we have a long order book in many of the tech companies, but that will not last too much longer. On the other hand, we have some businesses, like especially the ICT services, but also some other businesses where this crisis has actually increased the demand of services. Where some of the companies that were not so prepared for remote work, for example, they have upgraded their ICT systems and developed their business models and operation models, and that's work for consultants, work for ICT companies. So like I said, 55% say that the situation will be bad in 3 months, but 45% that says that it will be normal, or even better than normal. Yeah, but then the fifth impact, the clients started postponing their orders, because even if you have an order, then you take shipyard industries, for example. There's not very much demand on ships at the cruiser ships at the moment, and so there's been postponements. Our biggest shipyard, Meyer in Turku, they have rescheduled their shipbuilding operations, and they were planning to double their capacity in Turku, but they're not doing it right now because of the new situation and because of the big crisis in the shipyard, in the cruising business in general. And that takes us to the sixth impact, which is that some of the companies, they have really difficulties in paying their bills. I mean, the client companies, and they are in threat of insolvency, and of course there will be long and more or less permanent changes in the clientele as well, so that we will have to find new clients and actually also new businesses because of the big disruption that we have in the business world at the moment. But yeah, where are we now? I actually already told you that we have like more than half of the companies that are still going down, and a little bit less than half that are doing all right or doing good at the moment. And whatever the situation will be in the autumn, we will have to secure this country has to secure that these companies that are the backbone of the Finnish well-being society will survive over the gap and over the crisis. So there will be need for additional support for these companies even after the summer.
So especially for the bigger export companies.
Yes, and we have also, of course, the whole supply chain, or the partnership network that these companies have in Finland. It's a lot of small and medium-sized companies as well.
That's right.
And of course, when we talk about the biggest companies, the direct aid will not be really possible. We don't have enough money for that, but like supporting loans and making investments into these companies, that's the way to go forward.
So the corona had direct impact or immediate impact to restaurants and consumer services, but now it seems like this corona is having effect, especially like a little bit like longer period of time, or like taking a bit more time, but you see that there are some big impact of Corona for export
I think
industry.
for the Finnish export industry, the biggest hit is still in front of us. They haven't happened yet. But it's actually, if you look at what we have learned so far, there will be permanent. This is a permanent disruption, and we will have permanent changes in the business models. We will have permanent changes in the way we work. I can take a few examples. I've already mentioned that the shift to remote working mode happened quite smoothly in the companies, and actually I have a consulting background, so I know that it's always been impossible to work from home when you're working with these huge digital models, and you have to have a fast access, and so this time it wasn't like that. Actually, our companies are reporting that the employees say that damn, it works faster from home than from the office. So it's actually, we have reached such a level of digital services in our network that this is possible, and that is of course a permanent change that will happen. That people will work more from home in future as well. I think I've been working from home or from my summer place for 3 months now, and I think that in the future I will continue at least 1 day a week or 2 days a week. It's absolutely efficient when you are at home and you can focus on things and concentrate on things. But we have a lot of these Teams and Slack and Zoom and My Meeting and whatever, and people are starting to be quite professional in using them. So and people are happy to a certain extent in being at home, because then you don't have to travel, you don't have to waste time to that. But on the other hand, the days become pretty long quite easily, and I've noticed that I have meeting after meeting back to back, no time to move, to walk, to eat, or to do anything. It's a bit too hectic now. But anyways, whatever we learned also, it was that you can do pretty much remote also when you're talking about maintenance of the machines, or sensoring and checking of their condition, or even commissioning of a new plant.
You might become even more proactive now, because you need to take those into account.
Absolutely, and it changes the business models in that way as well.
Yeah.
And you don't have to send a team of dozen to commission some equipment anymore, but you can like do a big part of it remote. You can train the local people remote, and you can just control the commissioning using the sensors and doing most of it remote. Somebody maybe has to go there, but not too many people.
Yeah.
So that's a evolution in the operations as well. Yeah. And of course, the more you go towards that direction, then the better you are in operating, actually offering like a machine as a service, or even the desired impact as a service, and then you're doing everything remote, and you don't sell the machines, but you just sell the impact or the service.
So that sounds like perfect time for 5G technology as well, now when all the elements and components are kind of free to be changed, and what you mentioned about the double teams, so there's like backup plans, and you start to think like different ways to organize things, more flexible, and there need to be some plan B, plan C. always available, so that provides opportunities for agile players around.
Absolutely, agility is, I think, the key word here, and those who will recover fastest, they will be the winners of the new markets.
That's right. Even the big corporation might be seen as a play field to be organized or reorganized in the new way, and maybe utilizing the opportunities of 5G technology and the mobile technologies.
Yeah. That's why we have given this challenge to your teams as well, because it's 5G is an essential part of these modern and smart manufacturing technologies and whole management of the factory operations and even remote.
That's right, connecting the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Besides of people as well. Yeah.
But the funny thing is that also we have our companies have found out that even marketing and sales goes pretty well through remote meetings, at least to those companies that you have been working with before. But also the new sales to new clients is being amazingly efficient through the network, and of course, like in the previous case of not needing to travel with such a big crowd, also in this case you cut your travel cost, you cut your emissions a lot, and you have more time for your family as well. So you are more often home in the evenings, and that's pretty good.
So it's easy to imagine even the balance sheets, or like the profits or the whole balance sheet might change now.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
how the costs are structured.
Yeah. And of course, because of these breakdowns in the supply chains, our companies are looking at how they could be more resilient, how they could have more alternatives in the supply chains, maybe have more domestic suppliers or European suppliers in the chain, or at least have several alternatives, so that they don't get stuck.
The whole supply chain and really,
yeah. But I think that of course this has been hard, but we have to make sure that the Finnish economy and the Finnish industries and the export industries will come out strong from this crisis, because there is a new market available there, and we should conquer it as much as possible.
So there might be a number of students now around us able to help us with the new ideas, how
Absolutely,
having the outside of you, newcomers from Finland as well, young people, they might have new ideas, not the old ones, and utilizing the technology straight away. So
actually, to the people there, to the students, I think that you're learning here how to apply the new technologies to the existing businesses, to make them more sustainable, to make them more efficient, and that's really what is needed, and that's really a great challenge.
So in the end of this discussion, so when we are looking for the solutions, so how we come out from the corona, and you mentioned that you have been in number of crises already in your work life. So what do you think? What we could have learned from the prior crisis we have had, and the first one you mentioned, 1990.
Yeah.
So tell about that. And then
It was a first of all, the reason for the big economic crisis in Finland was that, of course, the collapse of the Soviet Union, which was like 20% of our exports, it disappeared overnight. There was a recession in Europe as well, so our other main markets were also not so in great demand of our products. And then we had We had opened up our monetary policy so that people could, or companies at least, could take loans, like currency loans from abroad, which still had Finnish markka at that time. And then we had like a devaluation, or actually the Finnish mark was put floating, and the value went down by 40%. So in practice it almost doubled the currency loans that people had taken. Then the interest rates started going up, and the banking sector was in bad shape, and we had a bankruptcy of one of the major banks, and the interest rates went actually close to 20%, and of course that caused a huge domino effect on the companies, and we had tens of thousands of bankruptcies and a huge unemployment. But at that crisis, actually, the government, they still decided that they will invest in R&D and innovation, and they kept on investing in that. And actually, our GDP started to grow pretty fast again, and it was the Nokia cluster, the electronics industry, and the mobile technologies that started to build up the Finnish economy again. So even we had big unemployment, we invested in renewing our businesses and making big added value in our products, and that actually took us out from this. So and the final point was, of course, that Finland won the ice hockey world championship in '95 for the first time ever. So if that was the final point of cheering up people, and we were really proud in the late '90s about how we are growing and coming up again. And
self-confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, the key thing was that we were investing in innovation and research at that time.
So you mentioned that, so there were similarities then. So at that time we had GSM, like 2G at that time, and that helped us to find new solutions
and we made the Nordic countries made GSM the world standard, and of course that helped to expand the exports around the world. Yes. And then in 2008, when we had the financial crisis, actually there was a government that thought that austerity is better than innovation, and a lot of money was cut from the innovation. The Nokia story was still good, but going down already at that point of time, and the company Nokia has renewed itself. It has become this network company, and of course it's many other things as well. But anyways, I think that the difference between 90s and 2008 crisis was that in 2008 we were not investing in research and development and innovation.
And it took long downturn.
It took 10 years before our GDP came almost to the same level, or actually to the same level than in 2007. But now, when the corona crisis came, now we are back below that figure of 2007 again.
That's right. So what we can learn? So let's invest for R&D.
Absolutely.
Learning of new technologies, 5G.
Yeah, exactly. That's the conclusion, and I think that the present government understands this pretty well, and we have had more investments in R&D and in innovation, we are currently doing workshops on what will be the winning technologies and the leading business areas that are suitable for Finland at the moment, and try to continue from that, so in supporting businesses and supporting the research in those areas especially.
So in the end, so there has been an initiative concerning the minor studies of 5G as kind of solution to increase learning around 5G, and at the same time make those studies very project based, so they would help companies as well, and not only for Finland. So this minor program could be offered for global students, and also that same program or approach could help number of companies around the world. So what do you think about that?
You call it a minor program, but it's a major step.
Yeah.
And I think that the idea is excellent, that you are combining the studies with the actual business cases, and that's, I think, is your plan, and that you make it international, so that it helps also our companies to globalize and go international and make new networks and think about the global future, because looking from Finland, the global market is about 1,000 times bigger than the Finnish market, so it's actually quite tempting to go there.
That's right. And so thinking about the speed of development nowadays, and what you said, that remote work might make it even more hectic now. So now thinking about the new type of education programs around the 5G, so we might need to make it different from what we have had past, make it more global immediately, made it available globally.
Yeah.
Utilize 5G even for the education.
Absolutely, yeah, and build up also the education networks, so that you get the best people and the best practices into the program.
And you are supporting this idea about the minor studies, new type of minor studies?
Yes, we are supporting.
Yes,
definitely, warmly.
So this is kind of news for all of you there listening this. So you might be interested about the new type of 5G studies starting fall or in the beginning of next year. Project-based studies carried out close to companies immediately, and especially offered for those students who are in the final phase of their studies already and would like to focus on 5G things, which would help them or could help them to employ themselves as well, or for their employment.
Absolutely, yeah. And whatever your major is, I think that this is a very useful minor.
Yeah. So that's important as well.
Yeah.
That we need to have people with various backgrounds and from various disciplines to start to think about what we can benefit from 5G.
Yeah, and not necessarily technical.
Yes.
I mean, we need all kinds of people, all kinds of backgrounds to develop businesses and to be successful in it.
Okay, thank you very much, Matti, for this discussion. Very nice. So
Thanks a lot, Jari. It's been a pleasure.
I think that I learned a lot about going back to those times, to 90s, what we did at that time.
Yeah.
That was quite terrible in Finland.
It was,
But we recovered and utilizing at that time especially mobile technology. So let's look forward that 5G can help us and the whole world to recover from Corona epidemic.
Yeah. Thank you, and
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
And now, if there are some questions, I don't know if we can manage that in this setting we have. But if you have some questions, just direct them to hello@startnode.com, and we come back to you immediately after this show. And if those are questions we can't answer immediately, so over this week, so you get feedback for the questions. And yes, let's continue with this program this week. So today, 1 o'clock, or actually we start already 12:30, discussing about the afternoon session with Taina Tukiainen, professor from Aalto University. And 1 o'clock, we are having discussion with the CEO of Digita here. They also gave the challenge for this course, so let's discuss about the 5G and broadcasting industry in more broadly. And today later on, so we have a special talk, 4 o'clock EST. The MIT professor is telling about the 5G and heterogeneity. But let's come back to those later program or event afternoon. But now we close for this session, and see you soon.